best to you.
Yes.
So, anyways, Belfast, yeah, they had their turmoil at one time or another, but it's a great movie. It's really good. It's solid. The little boy actor. It was the first screener that I watched out of all these, and I was blown away by the little boy.
And what's the little kid's name?
I can't.
Is it?
It's not in there. But
okay.
I feel bad that I don't know his name, but we could.
And then, so let's go to Coda. Coda. Do we have any sound effects for Coda?
Coda. Well, no, because
Coda. Did anyone see this Coda? I didn't.
Yeah, Coda. Coda is, if I should say, it's my favorite film of the year.
Yeah.
It has tons of heart and it's a beautiful story. I really hope it wins for Best Picture, but we don't know.
Fabrice Giannafermi. That's Italian, right? Do you have it? No sound effects.
Well, this is the thing. Coda has basically, roughly, I'm going to kind of butcher it, but it's about a teenage young woman who is amazing at singing, but she has 2 deaf parents. So we could just have silence for Coda.
Oh, so silence is
And that's what's beautiful about this film, is that it shows the struggles that this girl had, she would sing like a nightingale, but she had 2 deaf
parents that can't hear her. So she can hear, but her parents can't hear.
And they supported her. And the story, you got to see this movie. It's just so beautiful. And there's a certain scene in the movie where the music teacher asks this young woman, well, can you tell me why you love singing? She says, I can't put in words. She's like, can you try? And she did sign language. And I got teary by watching it. It was that good.
Oh, that's
so
beautiful.
This actress, fantastic. The directing, everything, it just hits a heart like tenfold. So that's my take on Coda.
Okay. And then everyone, let us know your favorite movies when you give us a 5-star review. Hopefully you're giving a review and subscribing. And then, okay, so now Drive My Car. Yeah, everyone, can someone drive my car?
Right? Don't look up.
Oh, don't look up.
Eric, and you saw Don't Look Up. So why don't you?
Yeah, Eric. Eric, come on.
Yakking it up.
You're really good.
Sound. You got to talk.
Yeah.
So, Don't Look Up. It's
good. It's a it's a take on I don't know. It depends who you talk to. It's a take on either global warming or the political situation in the country, or both. It's bold strokes about both of those issues, and it doesn't really hide the fact that it is about that.
Some sound effects for this would be like what birds that need the forest. Don't chop down the forest.
No, this would
be an asteroid.
Okay.
So that's
now I feel like I'm in the movie theater again.
Slow it down a little bit. That was too fast.
Yeah,
it's got to be a big meteor that would destroy the Earth. So it'll be more like this. Well, it still
sounds like a bear.
It sounds goofy.
I like the first one. Go back to the first one. I like that. That was
exactly.
like that. I felt like I was in the movie theater with that one. It's like, yes.
That was good.
Don't Look Up. So this is a meteorite hitting?
It's that is the backdrop of the whole story, yeah. And then it's just kind of a farce on billionaires solving problems, and scientists trying to explain things, and people not listening, and people believing what they want to believe, and things like that, you know.
Yeah, like billionaires driving, people going in their private jets and their private yachts and
Mars first.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then going to Mars. So like you want to help the world, but
Merlin, Eric has a maniacal giggle. That we
maniacal giggle.
It takes a while to get in there. Yeah, it takes a while to get in there. Let's see. That's.
But wait, what would he say about his missiles? Or
it's I'm going to build a rocket. So that's every billionaire that I know right now.
Yeah, multi-billionaire. We're talking
multi-billionaire.
Yeah. That and anyways, we could keep going on rockets.
Well,
the shapes of them.
Well, my kids' podcast has lots of villains in there, so we'll have to make them a multi-billionaire. I think I made a couple of my billionaires, but I think I make them look up to Elon Musk because he's an inventor. So I hope that's okay, everyone.
Don't Look Up was a great film.
Yeah, it was great.
It's definitely there's a
Adam McKay and Kevin Messick are producers.
But Leonardo DiCaprio and and the rest of the cast is fantastic.
So Leo and Leonardo DiCaprio, did you have to do any sound effects for Leo this
Not
time?
this
Not in this
No,
one?
no bear
Okay.
attack in
No
that
bear
one.
No.
attack. No,
You didn't have to go, oh, me neither.
No grunts.
No,
Yeah.
no screaming girls.
Yeah.
We love the fun stories, right? The fun stories like, what? You got to do Leonardo DiCaprio's voice? Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Oh, but you had to be underwater and attacked by a bear and like you had to be drowning and yeah, you get to do that too. Hang out. So can we do Drive My Car now? Drive My Car?
Yes.
That's yeah,
Japanese film. I'm honored. I mean, I'm not honored, but I'm just really excited that everybody loved this movie as much as I did. I think it's one of the best movies of the year as well. I know it sounds trivial, but it's this beautiful Japanese film that is just intense from the beginning to the end. And it's probably, to me, the most unique out of all these movies. It's just beautiful film, incredible acting, and
the pace is just
The
amazingly
pace.
slow and meditative and
Sound effects, please, to get everyone
sound
excited to go
effects?
see Drive My Car and tell us what you
Okay, well,
think.
he uses a Saab. He drives a car, and it's a Saab. So let's
Is
see.
he an Uber driver?
He's call up a Saab. Here's a Saab.
And it takes place in where does it take place?
In Japan.
And see, like this is good when you don't see it. You can ask all the questions in Japan.
This is a Saab driving down Melrose, but hey,
Yeah.
who's,
do we have
who's
any
worried?
music from Japan? And like, by the way, thank you, Japan. Japan, are one of our listeners, the countries that listen to us a
We
lot.
love Japan.
Yeah.
Japan has always crafted things so good, and they just in their generations of family, craft. They're all craftspeople, and this movie has that beautiful, understated that only the Japanese could do. It's just like
Would this be kind of like one of those Criterion Collection movies?
big time.
Because some of the new movies today that like keep doing sequels and sequels and sequels and sequels. Well, we love the sequels, but because one of the things is like the Criterion films, those masters. So it reminds me of one of those masterpieces from Criterion
It
Collection.
could fit into the Criterion Collection better than any of these movies, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes,
And by the
yes.
way, do you have a favorite Criterion Collection movie?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Cut to, you guys, I'm Italian, so anything that like Federico Fellini does, La Dolce Vita, the bicycle thief.
8.5.
Eight and a
my
half.
favorites.
Fantastic.
Oh my God,
I think 2001 is probably my if I have to pick a favorite film that made me want to get into filmmaking, it's 2001.
2001. What did you like about 2001? Because some people might know what 2001 is, and some listeners might be brand new to like 2001.
2001 was from what it meant to me when I watched it. There were three films that I looked forward to on our black and white television.
Yeah,
when
black and white TV is what we had when we were growing up, in that little box, not that little flat thing.
One was The Great Escape. One was Yellow Submarine, and then 2001. When they came on, I was just riveted. And I think 2001 was even back then I was kind of aware that it was kind of realistic, and it wasn't cartoony in a way that other shows were. I love Star Trek, but that was also like it was a drama, and it was a very different thing. But and I one of my hobbies is astronomy as well, so I loved everything to do with space. And 2001 was just brought all of that together in a package, and I was very much aware of the director's role in that movie. It sort of brought all those art forms together: music and editing and photography and astronomy and science all together in a believable thing. And it turned out to be a great thought-provoking movie as well. It just had everything going for it, kind of.
And which is interesting because one of your favorite Criterion movies, our favorite movies, is 2001, and you worked on Dune, which kind of like, which is very interesting. Everyone that interviews, their favorite film and Criterion are growing up ends up being something that their work are achieved. So it's an incredible journey from childhood to actually doing what
Yeah.
you love, and it was from 2001 to Dune. I mean, come on, that's
Yeah. It was the
amazing.
furthest thing from my mind that I'd be able to work in film when I was watching that as a kid.
Yeah, that's
South Chicago was nowhere near the film industry,
South Chicago.
so it's quite remarkable that I'm here
Yeah,
in terms of just being around this.
because we are in West Hollywood, California, people, and like that jungle, that sound that like in the beginning. Okay. And what about you, Charlie? What was one of your favorite?
I'm looking at the list, and there's so many movies I love. Like I actually is like Criterion. I know I watched a bunch of them, but I couldn't think. I know 8.5, but I'm looking at the list, and The Seventh Seal, Ingmar Bergman, Seventh Samurai, Kurosawa,
Oh, yeah.
incredible. Thin Red Line was, I think, one of the best war films I ever saw. But one of my favorite movies is Eraserhead. And I think that is a Criterion.
I think so too, yeah.
And I think it's one of the most beautiful and picturesque and bizarre movies. And it wasn't the first movie that made me love films, but I think it's one of the most that showed me humility and beauty at the same time. So I love that movie.
And did you watch these with your parents at the movie theater? Or you watched them on the old black and white box? Like, do you remember?
I think the first time my sister worked at a video store in Santa Monica called Vidiots.
Oh yeah, I know that.
Yeah, and it was a very, very well respected, cinephiles. People would go, and Tarantino worked there a little bit. I mean, a lot of directors come there to see films for reference, and they had one of the best collections in town. So she would bring 5 movies home a night, and thanks to my sister, I got to see all the best films. So Eraserhead was one of the ones we watched on VHS first until I saw it in a theater. And then when I saw it in a theater, I realized how immaculate that cinematography is, and just the directing. It's impeccable.
All these films on there too seem to have like it's like an experiential thing rather than you just watching it. It's kind of like you're
space.
You fall into that world. Like Eraserhead is another world that you just don't.
Yeah, or Doctor Strangelove.
Yeah, any of those.
You're sucked in and down by law, and
what about El Postino, the postman? You go into you like literally become the postman. You know what I mean?
You want to move to
Italy and
Positano, or
he's riding his bicycle and
Amalfi Coast.
Oh my gosh! And the bicycle thief, when the kid's bicycle was stolen, you're just like, no, how do you do that? I mean, incredible. And the Miracle Milan is one of my favorite too.
I never saw that.
Oh, it's so magical and fairy tales because you guys know that Enchanting Book Readings is one of my podcasts besides Girl's Guide to Investing. So, but I write magical and fairy tale stories like that, and it's so. If you haven't seen it, Miracle Milan's beautiful.
It sounds beautiful.
And and they did it with there wasn't a lot of special effects back then, and it was really good. It'll really take you to that world and that place. And I think you'll like it a lot. And then also a movie when you're talking about the little boy that's really good in Coda
and Belfast.
I'm Not Scared is an Italian film, and I cried after seeing that movie because I really wanted to be a director. I didn't have the $100,000 to go to AFI, so I had to write, direct, and produce films on my own. And I wish I had a sound team and a great DP, but I'm Not Scared is 2 little boys acting in it, and like I would cry and go, I'm just not worthy to be a director, because this was just, how do you make these films like this? When you see Criterion films, like how do you write these stories? How do you direct them? But it's so moving and so touching. It is Italian film, but it's one of my favorites. But yeah, there's just so many. The list goes on and on, but there's some that they stay in your mind, and then the fact that one day you're like, oh my God, I'm writing children's stories on a hit podcast. I am talking to directors and producers that make amazing films and do Oscar-nominated sound and Emmy winners and Oscar winners, and you're just talking to them and they tell their story. It's so beautiful, and our audience loves it. So thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And we've got so much more to talk about because we still got more categories in the Oscar on this.
So what's next? Do we go over where did we stop?
Well, we
know to drive my car. So we're on Dune now.
So we're on Dune, as you know. My guests, Charlie Campagna and Eric Bosta from Formosa Group, they are nominated for Best Sound for Dune. Woohoo! And Dune is also nominated for Best Picture. And it's stunning, right?
It's great. Yeah, Eric.
It's a beautifully shot and acted and directed film. It's a beautiful take on on the source material, which is notoriously very difficult to film, and I think all the right choices were made in this version. It's a very intelligent and thought out take on the source material. It's this book sort of gave rise to everything that we all love, like all the science fiction guys love is like Star Wars and Star Trek and all those fandoms all sort of have their DNA from Dune, and the the concepts in Dune were very futuristic. I think in the context of when it was originally released was just very futuristic and very thought provoking for a lot of people. And it's a commentary on absolute power. It doesn't really praise power very much. So it's kind of a neat take on all of that, especially in the context of the world right now. So I think it's a really, really beautiful take on the source material.
Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful, and I hope they win. It's going to be exciting. This list is long, and then now we have King Richard. King Richard,
yes. Well, I just wanted to just say really quick that two mentors for me are the mixer, the two gentlemen at Mix Dune, Ron Bartlett and Doug Hemphill, that are dear friends of mine, and I've worked on a lot of films with them, and I've been involved with them musically. And I'm just honored to have them. I'm so happy for them right now to be, attending the awards and possibly winning this year. So I'm very, very excited. So I just wanted to throw that out in the world of the mixing team for this movie is just top notch.
So if our audience is listening, they can see you on TV when they watch the Oscars, right? Possibly.
They will be. Well, it's kind of funny. We could talk about this too. The awards this year got a little snubbed. The sound, best sound, and best editing, like picture editing, kind of got pushed aside for airtime. So they're not going to put it on this year, which is too bad because the really whole thing about filmmaking is collaboration. And although we love our actors, we love our actresses, we love our directors, we love our composers, it's kind of like a little backhanded that that there's not going to be screen time for these people to get an award and thank their director, thank the actors in person and their family and loved ones and their team. And it's a little bit, so you would have to go online and watch them accept their award because there's going to be a green screen for them. And it's going to be pre-filmed. It's kind of a little a shame, and it's all because of airtime and constrictions of timing. So it's too bad. Hopefully this will change. And hopefully, televised, they'll realize that, this could be done a different way, or maybe it has to completely change, but
or maybe they can be a podcast and we can film the podcast, right?
Yeah, but there's the issue with that. But yes, kind of moving on, you're going to mention King Richard. Yeah, did you guys?
I haven't seen
King Richard.
Incredible. Will Smith, I think, deserves Best Actor award for this year, I believe. I think Will Smith always does a stellar job, but long awaited for an award. He's kind of had to swallow many near wins. So I think I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that he'll win for King Richard. I think King Richard was one of the best sounding movies of the year too, personally.
Do we have any music for King Richard?
Yeah, we do. Music. I like music. We don't have music, but let's see.
Our sound effects.
King Richard?
Yeah, we have such a sound effects. We love our sound effects. And I have a lot of. And speaking of kings, Jack the Bear is a royal bear. And then I have like the new Blinkies, they're royal cats. So check those out on Enchanting Book Readings. And take a second to subscribe and hit the 5 stars. Thank you for listening, everyone. Thank you for making us a top podcast and hitting #1 weekly in countries. You guys are the best. Yes. Can anyone speak English? King Richard? Do we have any accents here?
Well,
to be or not to be?
Yeah, it could be a Shakespearean tennis match, but
Flight.
Yeah, we got some good tennis. That's
tennis.
That's kind of harsh tennis.
Yeah, what was
it? That's for someone that's not having their vaccines. You don't get to come. No.
So listen, we got some tennis hits here. Here we go.
Everyone listening, move to the right and the left.
Yeah.
Pretend like you're
So
Matt.
this is the thing. My dear friend Eric Potter, who's a sound effects recordist, recorded all the tennis hits for this movie, and I never asked him how he did it, but I'm sure he did it a special way because he's one of the best recordists in town. But King Richard is just a fantastic sounding movie, and you would think it's the story of Venus Williams and her sister. Incredible tale of rags to riches, and from work hard, and you will reach your goal type of thing. But the struggle of the family, the father was just so endearing to his daughters, and he stood up for them. But the sound of that movie was impeccable, and that also was mixed by Ron Bartlett as well. So hats off to Dune, but also hats off to King Richard, because it was a great sounding movie. And that was the sound supervisor was Richard King, who is someone who brought me into the business. So good, top-notch people.
That's amazing too. Yeah. And we love the stories that go from rags to riches, because literally during COVID, I met some people like this. This woman girl lost her job, and she started sewing backpacks from recycled material. And now she has a business where she sells backpacks out of recycled material, and it pays her rent. And she's also an actress, and
Awesome.
She just produced a documentary. And then my other friend, she quit her job at a retail store. And she quit because she was like working 60 hours a week, paying for a little studio apartment. And now she's a TikTok influencer, an Instagram influencer, and making her money strictly from doing fashion is what she loves. And is now in a beautiful 1-bedroom apartment with a Samoan dog. And then also my podcast too. Like from it just took off. It's top 1%, Enchanting. So we love these stories like King Richard's about Venus Williams and her sister, how they become tennis stars with Will Smith. Yeah, that's a beautiful story, because a lot of people are like, well, how do you do that? How do you become that? And then when we go to the park, this dad has like they have 3 sons, and they practice every day playing tennis. Every day they're out there for hours and hours, like 4 or 5 hours. And they helped me look for my dog when my dog jumped out the window with the fireworks, fireworks. So yeah, so we're rooting for King Richard. And then should we go to like, I've been gotta ask Charlie about Licorice Pizza. Let's
Licorice Pizza.
Do we have any sound, like, do we need some sound effects for Licorice Pizza?
Licorice Pizza. Okay, Licorice Pizza. So that's Paul Thomas Anderson's movie, right?
PTA.
Yeah,
you guys know I met PTA, Paul Thomas Anderson, with Quentin Tarantino.
Oh my
goodness.
goodness.
And Quentin was like, PTA, because like that's what his initials are, right? and he was really quiet director, really quiet. And then Quentin's kind of like me, we're fast talkers. And when I saw how fast Quentin Tarantino talks, he's like, Merlin. And I go, I know that, like, that's because we're creative, highly, highly creative, because people are like, you talk so fast. But when I saw Quentin Tarantino, he was kind of nice to me, calling my name, talking super fast like lightning, because we're Italian. I go, that's just because we're geniuses. I'm a children's writer genius, and he's a director genius, speaking of. But yeah, so can we have some Licorice Pizza sound effects?
Gosh, that was 1970s in the Valley. So let's see.
PTA, Paul Thomas Anderson's movie.
So let's see. Okay. Alta Vista Street, dusk over canyon, mic movement, distant dogs, traffic and planes with a jet.
Right at the top of Alta Vista Street.
So when you do recordings, when you do recordings, I have to say you give a slate, they call it. So when you make a recording, you say what it is. So this is the recordist. This is an older recording, and
that sounded like Spicoli from Fast Times, right?
Okay, at the top of Alta Vista Street, overlooking a deep canyon at dusk.
I love it. It's awesome. He's like a new Spicoli.
You got the dog. And it's unfortunate because some of these sound recordings we don't have all the metadata, which is the information. It normally would tell you who the recordist is, but this is a very old recording, so we don't know who this gentleman is, and it's too bad because he was a hardworking, probably had a DAT machine strapped around his neck or a Naga recorder, and he did a good job of getting